So good morning to all present here. So myself, Naveen Kumar, working as assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science Engineering at KPI Institute of Engineering and Technology. So today we have expert Mr. Shadul for the expert talk of UML Umberllo model, the importance of UML tool and its benefits. Mr. Shadul, he's completed his bachelor's in the year of 2018, and during lockdown, he's worked as a backend Java developer, and currently he's working as software engineer in Tier 3. Mr. Shadul,
Hello.
can you
Yes.
start the session?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Naveen Kumar. I will enable my video. Let me know once it's visible. Hello. Uh, Hello everyone. My name is Shardul. So we are now here for the lecture on Umbrello. Share my screen. Just one confirmation. Is my voice and video visible?
Yeah, it is audible, but it is a little bit low.
Okay. Microphone is low, right? Yes. Can you confirm now? Hello.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So, hello everyone. So there are your various ways to represent UML. So go ahead. So UML first was designed by Grady Bush, Ivar Jacobson, James Ramberg. They are being considered as a core persons who have been initiated the UML language, which is now widely used. And it is used to model the complex systems. For example, any software you can take, starting from Amazon, Flipkart, or any app, Hotstar, any OTT application, or anything. All things, all this application can be represented in UML terms. So there are various softwares available in the market, and they which provide UML support. So there are like open source, and some are like uh, closed source also. So we have chosen Umbrello as a because it's an open source and it's widely used in universities and also in startups as it's an open source. But the big MNCs generally use proprietary softwares or they have some different. For example, Microsoft Visio or IBM Rational. These are the mostly used in companies, big companies, because they come with a suite. So firstly, I will tell you how can we download YAML or the Umbrella from for the Linux. So I am now on Linux environment. So I'll share my whole screen. Firstly, just to tell how can we install it on Linux. Is my whole screen visible now? So just confirm once it's visible whole screen. I'm not audible. Maybe.
Yeah, the screen is visible now.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Fine. I was just, there was no response, so just thought I'm of the grade. So you can download Umbrello from either Source4 or Snapcraft. I'll just quickly tell you. Can be example, you can open any browser. Like Umbrello. So the first two links, you can either go with this first one or the second one, any is fine. So this is install for Linux. This is get it from SAP Store. So I will prefer that you go it from SAP Store because it's easy. You just have to run this command and the umbrella gets installed. If you have Snap already installed, so it will be easy to install this. So in this way, you can uh, install Umbrello on Linux environment. But if you are on Windows, then you can go with this Umbrello project from the source for the link. Secondly, and then you can download it from here. It's the link for Windows. So in this way, you can write. If you have a Mac machine, then you can download it from here. So this way you can install it. It's easy to install. If you install it from Snapcraft, you go for SourceForge, and if you are installing on it Linux, it will be a bit complex. Also, I will share best reference. The reference is very helpful. It's a self-explanatory one. If after lecture anyone wants, so this is a PDF. It's very easy to understand and it has very simple terms, so a layman can understand if he knows UML basics. This link has been provided in. So now, hope this is clear till now. I will move ahead. Chat if anyone can confirm. Okay. So, what is the good software in terms of everything? So, generally, a good software is which has a good requirement clear, which has a good requirement, which is clear, and there is no confusion. Secondly, a good software is also which has good system design. And this top point one and point two are interrelated because if the analysis is clear, crystal clear, so design is also clear. Accordingly, planning is how project will be executed, when it will start, when it will be end, along with the development that is code for the documentation and the testing. So in this phase, where does UML stands? So this is a basic question that many people can raise, that where does UML stands? So UML starts from the first step, requirement analysis. We have to be clear what is the requirements. And as we know that there are two entities here involved. First one is the technical peoples, second ones are the non-technical peoples. So under technical peoples, There are software engineers, developers, architects, or the project managers. And in non-technical, we have the stakeholders, for example, the product owner or the service owner, who are not from the engineering background. Maybe they have done some MBA or they are from BCom, BA background, or they have been some different course where engineering teachings are not applied. So they don't understand the technical things. So UML stands a bridge between this. UML is so simple that a non-technical person can easily understand what a technical person is trying to say. So here, UML plays an important role starting from requirement analysis. It also helps in system design, then in planning also, in development, and then in documentation. So in this first two, 4 or 5 steps, everywhere UML is important and it plays a vital role to understand what is happening, what is the system, and how it is behaving. Further, as the application is designed, for example, if we consider that application is documented, then testing is done. In review feedback phase also, there is a revaluation done. So in that phase also, wherever required, UML is being modified, UML structures is being modified, and accordingly the development happens. So my point here in this slide, I wanted to explain, I will repeat in short again, is that starting from writing a code, before writing a code, that is a pre-stage, and second, after writing the code, that is a post-stage. UML plays a big role in pre and post-stage. So that is the reason we should be aware about UML as we are going to be future engineers. So it's clear, this point is clear till now. Okay, I think there is no sound, so no doubts till now. Just one thing, uh, maybe Naveen, can you confirm that is my voice and language okay and understandable? Is anything because fine. One yes is fine. Okay. So further, so UML diagrams, as I said, for a good software, what all things are mandatory. So similarly, what UML helps you? It helps to visualize the complex systems. And this all are the things which we have discussed in the previous slide only. So along with these points, like helps in designing and structure, documentation, planning, refactoring, and communication with non-technical and technical persons. So it's one of it also helps in one more point, that's the boilerplate code generation, which is a very good point as an initial phase. So we'll discuss practically how this is possible. So we'll come back to this point, this boilerplate code generation later. So going to ahead, there are the use cases, how to identify use cases. So use cases can be identified in, I guess, if you have the actions identified correctly, and second is the functions, you know what functions to do. So as the points mentioned, should be very clear when you are dealing with use cases, and also review it based on the actors. If you take suggestions, for example, we will have a group project maybe in final year. So you have 2 to 3 participants in a group. So you can individually note down all the use cases and then discuss with each other so that you can sort which test cases you can keep and which cases you can avoid. So the refinement of use cases can be done with the help of discussions when you can discuss it. Maybe revisit the same use cases after some day. For example, if you have designed a use case for today, you have to also revisit this use case after 2 days. Maybe you will find something new, or maybe after some hour. So what happens when we go out of context and we jump into again this context? We are able to think it, and then in that way you can refine the use cases, and multiple times refining will help to enhance or make the use cases clear. So this point is very important, that you should be clear when you are uh, designing use cases. So then again ahead, it will be identify the actors. So to identify the actors, there are two primary actors, like the one which connects with the system directly, and the second one is the actor which is connected indirectly. So once the use cases are identified, you should be very much clear here also which are the direct and indirect entities, which are the primary and secondary. We will now move towards practical thing, because it will be easy to understand, because words are not easy or simple to understand sometimes. So to draw a class diagram from a problem statement, first we have to identify what are the classes, attributes, operation, and inheritance, association, aggregation, composition, dependency. So for example, if we take a human class, or a car, we can represent a car in class entity, because a class has various members, like it has a mirrors, it has engine, it has tires. So this can be grouped together and be replaced as classes, and along with its attributes, operations can be defined. Okay, so to understand how can we apply this all points, we'll move towards a practical example that will take an OTT application as an example. So I will start with Umbrello. So this is Umbrello. So whenever we open a new Umbrello, firstly we have to save our project. For example, we have to save as desktop, basic, save it. It's always first to save and then start, because sometimes as your Umbrello is a open source, in my consideration, it fails sometimes. The application gets stuck at some time. So if whatever work we do may get corrupted. So it's always better that first you save it and then start. So talking about this Umbrello, it's quite easy. This is the class diagram area, or any diagram if you want to draw, you can draw it in this area. This is a tree view where all the views are placed. Also the data types, predefined data types are there. If you want, like full, double, we can create our custom data types as well. For example, we have something different, then we can get created. But we'll move ahead. So as now we are taking OTT application as an example. I think everyone knows OTT application like Amazon, Flipkart, Netflix. So we'll take this example because we can relate it with that application because we use it more commonly in day-to-day lives to watch any movie or any series or anything. So we can relate this easily and it will be easy to understand how an application can be mapped in UML. So to draw a diagram, firstly, we have to this if we can say it's a class. So you have to just click here. You have to name the class. For example, let's consider if we consider we want to build an OTT application, what all things majorly can be done, required. First thing is a user. Second thing is video. Third thing is subscription, right? So this is the basic things which will be required. So if you see OTT application attributes, which will be required, like it's a user, second is its video, third is a subscription, fourth is the payment, right? These are the basic things. There can be many things, but we as an example are considering only four things here because it may get complex more to understand, right? So considering if 3 to 4 classes, we will try to design these classes in Umbrello. So just I will start from first. Click this, click, and just click here. Now write your class name. For example, it will be user. Then click this arrow to modify this. You can either zoom or zoom out with mouse or with control or from here. So now our next step is to add some properties to it. So for example, if you double click on it, there will be a properties option available here. So if you see, as it's a class, so it has a visibility scope, right? Public, protected, private, right? Here you can write anything if you want to write something. This is a user class. Any detailed document you can write here. If you want anyone to understand based on this, you can write here. Second, it will be attributes. So what are attributes? If you go in this document again, you can see a user. For example, we'll have a user ID. You can leave username, then the email, and then the subscription status, right? There can be many possibilities, but we, as an example, considering only 4 possibilities here, 4 member functions. So to add an attribute, just new attribute, give the name for that attribute. For example, it's user ID and what type it will be. So there are predefined types you can see. So user ID is generally an integer word. You can keep it integer. If you want, you can keep string as well. It's all up to you. What is your requirement? In my scenario, the requirement is user ID should be integer. So I am keeping user ID as integer. If you want any initial value, it should have. For example, it should have initial ID as 1. You can give it as 1. If you don't want 1, you can skip this. But for time being, I will give it as 1. As user ID is a variable of a class, so I will keep it as private. Just click in OK. So one attribute is added. Now I will again add the another attribute, that is username. The username is generally a string, right? Username cannot be integer, right? So it will be a string. So there is a string predefined data type. I don't want to give any initial value because I'm not sure what it will be. So I'm keeping it is blank. Then email ID. Again, it has string. No initial value. Visibility as private. Okay. Then I can be password also because the user required a password as well. It will be also string. No initial value. Okay. If we click on OK, you'll able to see that whatever member functions we have added for user are now visible here, and the minus represents that they are private. So now we have defined a member, that is the attributes for this. Now operations is the second part we will try to explain. Just click on it, double click on it. There's the operation sections here. Here you can just write new operation. I will go again, maybe to understand it. First of all, if this is clear, we'll design all this class as well. But first we'll try to design operations for this user class. So if we go down, what call operations a user can have? Firstly, it can have a registered, it can log in, edit profile, view profile. So it can have anything. Many more things can be added also. Checking history, checking watch list. Many things can be added under user. But as an initial, we'll take this four only. So just double click on it, go into the operations, and we have to add a new operation here, right? New operation will be what? View profile. What it type should have? It should have a void. There is no return type. I'm keeping it as void. And these are the things like whether you have to keep it as abstract, whether you have to provide him as a scope or a const. This all things are basically dependent on what programming language you decide, or what is your aim. Means if you are considering, if you're keeping this as virtual, then what is your aim? Maybe you are defining some another class where it will have its body or something different way. So in that way, what all things should be check marked is solely dependent upon your requirement. So if your requirement is clear, if you remember in the presentation, first point was the requirement analysis. So if the requirement analysis is correct, then based on that, you can select here the what it should be, the scope, right? So now, as an operation, it will should be public. That so I'm keeping it public. Name is view profile. Return type is void. And this parameter section is the parameter which this view profile will take, right? So for example, what will it will take? I will add it as a user ID, right? It will be like integer type, name as user ID. And this is something which is very nice here in this, like you can decide whether it's an in parameter, out parameter, or in out parameter. Maybe if I don't know much, if you will able to understand what is in out, but you can explore it, because I will not currently tell you. I don't know whether it will be understandable or not, but just consider to view a profile, we require a user ID. So we are just passing in as a user ID. Okay. So the parameter for the function or the method is the integer, user ID, name is view profile, and the return time is void. So when you click on OK here, so view profile is added. I will just click on OK to show how it is visible. If you see view profile, user ID int is done. So am I going good now? Hello. Okay. So similar way, we can quickly design other classes. Maybe I will try to show relationship, because adding operation or adding an attribute is, I think, should be clear, right? Can someone confirm that adding attribute and operation is clear or not till now? Or shall I repeat it again? Thanks. Fine. So I will try to design few more classes quickly so that we can further check how can we generate code for this. That's type of in private. Okay. Title duration. Title is of type string. To be private. Okay. Is of type string. Private visibility. Okay. It's, maybe I will add this much only. Then again, new class diagram. I will write channel. Again, click cursor. And channel. I'll add the attributes. Check it here. So it will be like new attribute. General we have general ID. Of type integer. Private. Okay. New will be name of the general. Name. They of type string. Private. Okay. Okay. So there's new general, right? So now further, what all classes remaining? Payment. Payment is remaining. Payment. Attributes. Attributes. Payment ID. Which is of type integer. Private. New attribute. Payment details. What else details we can add? Amount. Date. Okay. Amount. Which is of type integer. Maybe we'll take it as unsigned. Just to check if it works. Unsigned int and date. Date will be string. So now I have created payment details as well. Now what all things can be considered more? Now we will write another class where I can show relationships about this. Mr. User. So now I can show inheritance relationship between user and register user. Because how I can show the inheritance relationship? Because there can be two possibilities, like one is the guest user. If you example and open any ODT application, for example, Hotstar or anything, whenever you install it or log in, there is a guest user that you don't have to log in into it, right? So there can be a guest user, right? Second, it can be a register user. So I am now considering here register user, which is already a subscribed member of that application. So here register user can be inherited from user. here. Registered user can be inherited from user because it will have all the attributes of user. So there will be an inheritance reference. So inheritance reference, how to represent it? We represent this by this arrow. Just click it. Click is this. So this is the inheritance operation, which has been easy to understand, right? So this way you can write in register user what we can write, subscription level or something we can write, for example, subscription level. There are something categorization, you are a premium member, you are a moderate member, something like this we can characterize. For simple here, we can consider as integer and subscription level. Okay, so here it's a mapping, right? It's an inheritance mapping. So further, we can map various mappings. For example, video and genre. We can map this as an aggregation, right? And why we are mapping this an aggregation? What does mean aggregation means? For example, a video will always have a genre, right? So what we'll do here in attributes, we'll modify this genre, right? For example, instead of giving genre here, we can write the gender class also, right? For example, if you go into the type, you'll see that the classes which we have ordered already, we can add them as a data type in any other class. So instead of string, we'll go back again. Here, instead of genre as a string, we have a genre class separate, right? So we can write this genre class as a member function of video class. So how to write this? Just change the data type of it, change it to genre, keeping the genre as it is. Okay. And if we okay, if you see, it has already taken the relationship as we have added the return type of as genre. If you see, it has taken as composition type. One thing you have to always mention, your Umberllo default takes any relationship as a composition only. We were thinking to map this as genre, but it always tightly bounds and it takes composition. So what is composition? We'll try to see next because in words it will be hard to understand. Maybe example is more explanatory, right? So if we try to map this both relationship, we were thinking to make this an aggregation, right? What is an aggregation? Something means a video can have a genre, right? But a genre can independently exist, right? So for example, if there is no video, genre can remain, right? That is the reason the genre is mapped as an aggregation here. So, but if you see here, it has taken default as composition. So now we have to change this relations. Just double click it. If you see here association, you will see classes association. Here it is video composition. So yes, we have to change to aggregation. Okay. Okay. If you see now, the arrow is now corrected. What means that this both relation is now aggregation here. That means a video may have gender. Gender has its separate existence, right? But in composition scenario, for example, I will tell a composition scenario where we can map it. I've listed down some composition scenarios. Yes, simple composition scenario. It will be. For example, I will design a different class right here. Name as video details. So if you see, video details doesn't have his own existence if there is no video. Means it has existence or it has a value when there is video, right? If there is video, then the video details has a meaning. If there is no video, The video details doesn't have meaning. So this type of relation is what composition is. So best we can write it attribute as video ID. We can write it as video. New attribute video details. And we'll select type as video only. Or we can write another way, right? We can keep this as string, video details as string, apply it, and in this here, we can add a new data type like video details class here. For example, we can add new attribute as video details as a name, variable name, and the return type as video details only. So what will this make? This itself will make this relation. But if you see, this has disturbed this relation also. As I previously told, Umberllo in default, it takes composition because it tightly bounds to any class. So we have to just modify it again, go into the general, go into the association and change it to aggregation. So if you see now, we have two examples. One is of aggregation and one is of composition. The aggregation example is the video and the channel is the aggregation example, and the video details is the composition examples. So the difference I will try to tell it again because it is very important to understand. If, for example, I just want to tell one important point. To understand UML, you should have a strong object-oriented understandings. What is inheritance? What is aggregation? What is composition? What is containment? What is dependency? If that things are clear, we can easily map UML diagrams with better understanding. If you don't have any perfect understanding of object-oriented paradigms, we can learn in this way. Like we have to try multiple examples to understand how we can map. Just we have to think. I can tell it fluently here now because before the meeting, I just designed an example where I can fit this both examples. You can take any example of your project or any real-time example and try to map this in between. And you just try to sort what is composition, what is aggregation. So I will repeat once again here. Aggregation is something where both class can have their separate individual existence. Also, along with one class has another class instance inside it. And if we go to composition, both class are dependent. Like if video is not there, video details doesn't have any meaning. So this is a relation example of composition and aggregation. Now I will try to explain one small another. It's like payment processing. If you see, payment processing is dependent on payment, right? For example, if there is no payment, payment processing doesn't have any meaning, right? Just don't confuse it with composition. Composition is something which is different than dependency. In the payment scenario, payment processing is dependent on payment. If there is no payment, there cannot be any processing payment. That is either success or failure. So for explaining purpose, I have defined payment processing as a different class so that we can map a dependency scenario here. But some others can design it differently, right? They can write attribute, there they can write operation here only, like success, payment validation, something like payment validation type is of void new parameter as string payment ID. Can it say string or it's integer? Okay, okay, okay. So someone can design it this way also. So it's basically what's your requirement analysis and what's your aim. In that way, we can map any number of concepts in a class diagram. So now we have very less time left. So I will directly open a new one and predefined example, which I have already tried before the lecture. For example, if you see this example, we have already seen this also video genre has also been seen. What does this line represent? This line is just an association indication, like payment and subscription, both class are associated with each other. Similarly, subscription and genre are associated with each other. Similarly, user and video are associated with each other. So first thing we have covered is this association. Second, aggregation, composition, inheritance. And now one more thing I will tell you is the containment. It is a bit hard sometimes to understand containment, but I will try to simplify it and tell you what I've tried to tell you. So if you say user and watch list have a containment relationship. So what is containment? The watch list contains list of videos, means a user can watch n number of videos, right? So what the main role of watch list is to keep the track of videos, whatever videos user has watched. And if user want to remove some video from the watch list, he can remove it. If he wants to add it, he can add it. So this relation can be mapped as a watch list. Now another doubt you may come, like, what is this list video? As there is this, what is this? This is data type, but this data type is not there. Yeah, right. So what we can do under this data types, I have added a data type here. You see, or I will add it now, just to tell you. We can add a new data type, right? List videos, video. It should be public. Okay. See, it's already there. So it's saying it's already there. Right. So you can add your custom data types as you go ahead. So in this way, you can now generate the class diagram. Now a simple last step will be, I will try to show how to generate a code from this, right? So please pay attention that once class diagram is finalized, now the simple and the easy step here is to generate the code. Just go into the code, go into code generation wizard. Now in this scenario, I have kept programming language as C++. You can take any language, whichever you want, JavaScript, Java, or anything. But I have kept it with C++. You have to define the path where you want to generate the files. Keep all settings as it is. Don't, or you can play. Once you understand it, you can play with it. See, if you see here list, it has definedly take std vector here, but you can add it something different also. But for now, I will keep all things as it is. Just click on next. Just click add. Select all, next, and just click on generate. So if you see code is generated, within one click, the boilerplate code is generated. The point which I told boilerplate, this is this code generation. So if you finish, now I'll show how the code looks. if you see, this all the files are generated, the data, payment. I'll try to open this in code editor so that we can check it. Open folder, desktop, open. If you see, we have not written a single line of code. We just have created diagrams and the code is generated. If you see, now we'll go from user. If you see user class, this all class is defined directly. If you see register, login, view profile, and all the members getter setter functions like set data, get data, this type of functions are already generated by this. If you see. So this code is an easy way to start. Also, we have some comments so that we can understand what does this means. So see, if it's status, bool, it has all taken data types as we have given it in this. Also, it has added some more things here. If you see here, it has added many things, predefined things. Similarly, if you go with CPP, it has a template constructor, deconstructor, and some method written here. You can write many more things here. So this is a good way to start. Once you have finalized the diagram, you can generate this code, and that you can modify the code as per your requirement. So in this way, you can generate a class diagram into code and start for your work. So that's it from my side. I don't have anything much to say now because I've tried to cover more things in less time. You will understand it more as you do, because as programming is all about doing, similarly, UML is also about doing. The more you do, the more it will, you'll try to understand it more clearly. And there is no, what we can say, there is nothing like thing that you don't have to stuck into the diagram. You can modify it as per your requirement, and it will change according to the time. For example, the diagram which you decided drawn first can be look far different at the end. That means there will be modification at different stages. So you have to revisit it. And so in companies, what you have to do, whenever there is a module or any functionality we have given to work, generally we have to write there all this before touching the code or writing any line of code. We have to write whatever things you feel will come in this module. You have to write this in the class diagram, and you have to prepare a technical specification like what is the business impact it will make, what problem it will solve, and you have to give some background about it, and so that it will be noted somewhere, right? So this is a way that before writing a code, designing a UML diagram, writing its technical specification in a layman language is important, so that non-technical person can understand it, and we know that a single employee cannot live in one organization for many years. There is very less frequency that a person lives in one company for till his retirement. So even another person comes into the company, so he should be able to understand what is written in that code. And to understand that code, it's a technical specification which is referred, where UML diagrams are drawn, and it's easy to that person to understand that code, what is written. Because there may come a scenario that later in the stage, there is a need to modify a code which was written 20 years back. So revisiting a 20 years code back, it's always easy or always good to write a proper documentation. And if it is written with the help of UML, it is very easy to understand for the new person and also to non-technical users, because there are some type of users like the client which are not from technical background. So for them, it's easy to understand. So Yes, it was a one-way session. Any questions or any doubts? Anyone want to point out anything? Hope lecture was clear. Hello, yes, yes. Anything you want to add or you want to ask anything? Okay. Similar way, this is just an example of class diagram. You can write sequence diagram or anything as long as you go. So wait, if any doubts, you can ask. If not, we can conclude.
Students, if you have any doubts, you can clarify your doubts with sir so that you can able to create your project and you have to submit for your laboratory component. So if you have any doubts, you please get sir's email ID. If you have any
Yes.
clarity, please ask him.
Yes, I will drop my email ID. I will also share this PPT or maybe diagram or the you anyone wants and refer that.
You have any doubts? Students? Okay. So thank you, Shark sir, on behalf of management and Department of Computer Science. I would thank for the wonderful session which is given for our third year students related to UML Umberllo model. So we will be in touch with you in the upcoming sessions so that it will be more helpful for our students. Thank you, students, for your wonderful
Yes.
and valuable time. Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, thank
Have
you.
a good day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.